Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Leese and I'm thrilled to welcome someone that is considered like the Chanel of figure skating designing, Lisa McKinnon. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Right. So I'm so curious and I wanted to have you on because I feel like a couple years ago we found out that Ashley Wagner was going to get a new dress designer, and then all of a sudden now everyone is using your amazing designs for skating. And I looked at your bio and there was Barbie and Cirque du Soleil and I said, this person sounds interesting. I want to know more about you. So it said that you were from Sweden. I was expecting an accent. So walk us through, how did you get involved in figure skating? What's going on here?
Okay. So, yes, I'm from Sweden, and there is an accent. You'll probably hear it more the more we talk.
Okay.
Yeah, so I grew up in Sweden. I skated myself, competed. I always wanted to join an ice show. I saw Katarina Witt. She was headlining with Holiday on Ice when I was young. And never after that, I was like, oh, that's what I want to do one day. I got hired with Disney on Ice, Feld Entertainment, right after I graduated. So I skated in ice shows professionally for about 8 years. Mm-hmm. And then I became performance director. So I was doing that for about 8 years as well. So I was on the road for 16 years. But then when I was young, I wanted to have a dress made. And it was kind of hard to find. I live in a small town in Sweden, so it was tricky. And sometimes it wasn't always how I wanted it to be. So I just started, one of my friends that I skated with from Gothenburg, she was like, why don't you try to make it yourself? And I was like, all right, I can probably do that, I think. So I started when I was like 11, 12. And
what was the music? What was the music and the dress? And
oh gosh, I have no. Oh, I do remember one that I made for Les Mis. Oh no, sorry, Miss Saigon. Mm-hmm. That was my first little showpiece that I did when I was 15. I did some artistic competitions, and that was I really liked that one because I tried already airbrushing and stuff then. Mm-hmm. So that was fun. And then I was already making for other people when I was 15, 16. I look at them now and it's cute. Yeah, so I always kept doing that, even though when I was with the shows traveling, I kept making stuff for other people. And at one point, with Holiday on Ice in Europe, we lived in a motorhome that we had rented because that's what everyone did at the time. And I had my sewing machine with me in the motorhome, so I was making stuff for other people in the show and for their shows and stuff like that. So yeah.
So how did you get involved with Cirque du Soleil and making costumes for them in Vegas? Like, how do you go from Disney on Ice? First of all, what Disney show are you in? I saw Starlight Express on Ice. So what is that costume like? I'm thinking color.
Starlight Express on Ice was my first ice show. And so I got hired. Judy Thomas actually called me on my graduation day, which was amazing because everyone was there. So we all went nuts, when I found out that I was hired. But that was interesting because we only had one costume the entire show. But yeah, so I did Starlight Express on Ice. That closed quite quickly, unfortunately. And then I did Beauty and the Beast. I did Anastasia on Ice, which is beautiful show. I did Grease on Ice, and I went back to Beauty and the Beast, and then we joined Holiday on Ice. So Hollywood was my first show, which we did the full run of that, and then after Hollywood we did Energia and then Speed.
Okay.
So yeah.
So how'd you wind up with Cirque then? Like, what is the transit?
I had a little time because at one point in 2006, actually, when we also got married, there was no spot for me as a performance supervisor and for my husband as a principal skater in the new production coming up. So we had a little bit of like a time where we're like, okay, well, what do we do now? And at that time, my costumes, I didn't have enough business that it was something I could do full time. So I just applied for Cirque, and I didn't make costumes for them. I just worked in the wardrobe department. And I worked with Ka, which was super cool. And I was so inspired, and I learned so much about costume construction and everything like that. And then I was also hired for Mystere as I was a lead in the hats department there. So that was also cool because I learned a lot of, a whole different level of techniques of building, and all that stuff. But then they asked us to come back for Energia, and we were really missing traveling and the touring life and everything. So we said yes right away. So it was quite short-lived with Cirque, but I just absorbed everything like crazy. It was such a great opportunity for me. And then with Barbie, we got off the road in 2013. And that's when we decided to move to LA. We figured it was a good place for us to sort of begin a new chapter in our lives. And it was Dave Thomas from Fallon Entertainment, or he doesn't work there now, but back in the day, when I was there, he was there. So he had heard we moved here, and he just called me. They needed an assistant costume designer for the Barbie live production that they were putting on. And the timing was just perfect and right, so of course I said yes. And
how many shades of pink did you use for the Barbie show?
Every glitter material and sequins material that you could find. It was insane. Like my whole apartment was just full of glitter for forever, because of course everything, was running late. I mean, every production runs late, so it was crazy. And I was like, well, if you need me to make these things real quick, I can do that. I guess between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. So of course I did a little bit of that just to help out and do extra. So yeah, there was glitter everywhere, and the costume designer loved everything sparkly. So
so how did you wind up starting your skating business and really getting serious about it?
Yeah, so I realized, because when we moved out here too, I sort of was thinking that maybe I kind of hold on a second, sorry. Wanted to test out the movie business and all that stuff, and I was really interested in that. But as soon as I moved here, people just started calling me, and especially people that I knew that were now coaches. They were like, can you make something for my student real quick? And, I was like, okay, sure. But I also tapped into theater, and I worked in the wardrobe departments for theaters here in LA. And it was a good experience, but not something that I wanted to do. And then people just started calling more and more. And I was like, you know what? Like, I really love figure skating. I love making costumes, and right now it seems like maybe business is picking up, and it's something that I could do full time, because that's the hard part. You can always do it part time, but so I just decided I'm gonna go for it, and I'm gonna see what happens. Then it just got really busy.
When is the moment that your life just became insane? Like, at what point did it
I think when it really hit me was when Ashley Wagner and Karen Chen were first and second at Nationals. And they were both in my costumes. And that's kind of like seeing it on NBC, and, it was just really cool. And I was like, okay.
So when did you get the call from them? Because I remember at some point Ashley wasn't going to use her old costume designer anymore, and everyone's like, oh, I wonder who she's going to use. And it was just like a passing thought. And then it was like, Oh, this is
Yeah,
new.
yes.
You know.
You know, how it happened was that another client of mine had gotten this really cool, amazing costume, and she was testing it out at the rink. And Ashley and Adam were skating, and Adam was like, whoever made that, you have to ask them to make you something. And that was me. And that's how she's like, okay. So I got a text on like a Saturday, and Ashley was like, hey, so I was wondering if you can make me something for Stars on Ice. And I said, yes, of course. When do you need it? And she's like, well, that's the thing. I'm leaving in a week and a half. Like, okay, all right. Okay, so send me your measurements. I'll make a sketch. And this was for a Dangerous Woman, the black gold one that I did for her. That was the first one. And I just made it. And I finished it. And then she came to pick it up. And luckily it just fit perfectly. And she loved it. And that was it.
Have you ever had a client that gave you like a lot of time to make a dress? It seems like it's always a rush, right?
Yeah, you know, the thing is most of the time they give me time. Like they know I'm busy and they let me know way in advance most of the time that they would like something made. But just because of how busy it is, it always, and you know, you need to honor every client, so like you kind of need to just make it as it comes in, so it always ends up being last minute, because I don't like working on too many different ones at the same time, because I'm still very much involved as well, like in the making of, so we like to focus on a few at a time, because I always try to do the best I possibly can with every single one, and I feel like it's hard to do that if you're working on 20 different ones at the same time. So that's why sometimes I choose to wait, you know, I'd rather finish and then start anew, you know, so it always ends up being in a rush, and I don't know, it's just the way it is. I wish I had like 10 more people, but yeah.
So when you're designing for someone like Ashley, like what did you want to bring out or highlight, or what was your first initial thought process like?
For her, I was excited because she had a little bit of a different style than everyone else I had been working with at the time. So I like modern, I like cool, you know, so that was really exciting for me. I was like, and she's a woman, you know, like we could accent a little bit more of her sexiness or whatever, you know, in that case. So, yeah, it was all about just also, but that's the same with everyone. Everyone has different bodies, and you kind of, that's really important, especially for the older they get. It's like you really need to figure out what shape works for them, you know, and what style, what silhouette to you know, accent certain parts of their bodies, but not the ones that we don't want to.
So if someone is just sending you measurements, can you just judge it by that, or do you watch videos of them to get an idea of what will work? I mean, how do you, because you have international clients, so like what do you do?
Yeah, like Aljona and Bruno, for example, with them, you know, I just had to make stuff and send it, and we just hope it fits. And I mean, sometimes, you know, it's pretty impossible to be on every single time, because even if you have the measurements and you have patterns and everything, materials are a little different, they act differently, so you can never be 100% sure. And especially if you're trying new things as well, like new styles or whatnot. But they might have to like tweak a couple little things with the local seamstress or something like that, but nothing major. But yeah, I mean, we can make just from measurements, and usually it's pretty good. But I like to see pictures. I like to see them skate. I like to get a feel for the style of the skater, because everyone's different. And so I like, to me, it's more important what they look like and what I think they would look good in than, you know, just saying, I want an open back and long sleeves and this and that. And it's like, well, maybe, you know, how about I just make a suggestion first? Because sometimes too, it's like, you know, you don't always look good in what you think you look good in until you try it. And maybe sometimes someone else might know better what you might look good in. So that's, you know, always interesting and quite hard on, especially with long distance relationships, you know. So
Aljona asks you for a dress. She's in Germany. You're in LA. Are you FedExing it back and forth overnight? Like, what is the process like? Is it?
Yeah, it's we DHL it.
Okay.
So, and it's just it's just make it and send it. That's it. Yeah.
And does she ever send it back to like work on the dress, or is it like first time it works and you gotta? Okay. Yeah. So, and for Bruno as well. So, you know, the pressure is on, especially when it's right before the Olympics. Yeah. How early in advance do you get the call from Aljona? Like, what was that a process?
So for the Olympics, because what did we do? Oh, it was for the short. Yeah, so for the short, because they took their old program back, and that's something they decided like midway through the season. And so it was Christmas when she messaged me. So that's not like a whole lot of time, you know.
Busy time, you know.
Yeah. And especially when you're already completely fully booked and working overtime like a crazy lady. But, you know, it's just one of those times when you
have to say yes. Yeah.
Of course I can.
Yeah.
What do you want? And then, you know, designing the new ones for the short was, you know, it took a little time because we needed to tweak things just with the design, because it was a little bit also first, you know, she really liked the colors that they had before, but then, so we tried that first, but then everyone thought that it should have a new color, you know, things like that. So that was definitely, not easy, but super fun.
Okay.
Yeah. And I love working with them. So, you know, you just do what you got to do to get it done. But it was stressful because, you know, there's no time for mistakes, and it just had to fit, and it had to be amazing, you know.
So how many sketches do you make per client? Like, do you give options, or are you...
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I make one, because I go into it really trying to do the best I can right away, and, you know, so I do make one. But then... and a lot of times it's everything's great and it's like, okay, yeah, we love it, go. Okay. But sometimes too, it's depending on how much I have gotten from them of what they like and how, you know. And sometimes they also don't know until they see it in front of them. So we might need to tweak something, or maybe they realize that they actually want a different color, you know, things like that. So then I make another one, of course. So most of the time it's one, and that's it. And then sometimes it's two. But then there are also times when you have to make like 4 or 5, you know, before you hit the right one. And it's usually because maybe they've already had something similar that I'm not aware of, obviously, or, you know, they just realize that, yeah, like, I don't know. It's just like that sometimes. And
so now, do you listen to the music and get color ideas, or does someone tell you the color, or how does that work?
I usually ask for color if they have a preference, you know, or if they feel like it needs to be strong colors or light colors, or, you know, things like that. I mean, honestly, I feel I work best if they give me nothing, you know, if I have completely free range. But that is, then it's like everything is coming from inside of me, and I always feel the happiest with the result, obviously. Yeah. but sometimes I need a direction to go in, and especially because it happens that they skate to the same music. So, it's like, okay, well, where should we go with this tango costume? In what direction should we take that? So then I will definitely need to know, and I like to nail it on the first design. So if I don't feel 100% sure that I know where it needs to go, I just ask them for details, like, how do you feel about high necks? How do you feel about open backs? What kind of, do you like longer skirts, shorter skirts, things like that, to try to figure out. And then I ask them what they don't like, because usually people know better what they don't like than what they like.
So who's given you the most free range to be expressive, the most your vision on the ice to really?
Well, it depends, and it depends a little bit of what they skate to as well, because sometimes they're not sure of how it should be. So I feel like the one that I had full range on, that I could do anything I wanted, and that I feel like I was most successful with in that scenario, was Ashley's short program costume for her last year, the one that was
the
like
multicolored,
from a red, that one that she's like, do whatever you want. So that's what I did in one go, and then we just decided if it should be from like green and blue to which was a little bit different, but we knew that she'd look really good in the red and purple and blue colors, so we thought it was safer, and like we knew that was gonna be good. So
how about when she did her show costume, where she really like had it was like a two-piece, very daring, but very bold, like your idea, her idea? Who?
So she told me that she wanted something modern. She wanted maybe a little hot pants sort of thing, and some kind of a jacket. And she showed me a couple of reference photos of like a few pop stars, of their stage outfits. And so we took it from there. Yeah.
So my favorite design you ever did, it's so funny because you use a lot of beads really well.
Yeah.
But my favorite design you ever did was Alexa and Chris's free skate to, because I thought it really brought her to the next level. Like it really made her look so classy and iconic. Yeah. So what was the inspiration?
So the inspiration for that was she wanted something very feminine. She wanted it to look more mature than, like, she wanted to feel like a lady. I think she felt a little girly in previous years. So she wanted to make a switch to feel more, like a lady and mature. And then the storyline behind it was that she was more in just like a, just sort of a dress, right? And that he was the ghost. But originally we were going to put like pearls and like a few crystals on there, but I sent it off for fittings to them, and I never saw it again because she was like, "Oh my god, I love it so much, and we love the feeling of it as it is. Like it just feels so right with the feeling we have in our choreography and with the music that we shouldn't do anything else to it." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's super cool. I love it." Yeah. Okay. So that was it.
So I like a high neck. So when is a high neck okay? Like when do you go for the high neck? I have a really thick neck. Like we're Polish, and my grandfather had this like neck that like it looked like a tree stump almost, like to this full side of his head. So we've got a big neck situation going on. So when is it like, do you emphasize the neck?
I think it depends on, to me, it's more like, it depends on the music to me more than anything. If I feel like the music is calling for a high neck or not. And then, I usually don't run into that so much because it would be more of like a thing of where they might not feel comfortable in a high neck, because some people don't like things around here. They want to have it open. Yeah, I mean, I don't think too much about those things. I sort of just sketch to like how I like the silhouette that I think the music needs, you know, to enhance the program. And then I look at the person, you know, to see also what I think they would suit them. So it's more of a styling. If they have like maybe short neck, it's something better to open it up, you know. So it's more that. I don't know.
Now, if you're doing a pair or a dance team, how do you, like, the ice dancers are like wrapping around each other and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So when you do a short dance dress for like Maia Shibutani, how did you do all of the beads and know that it was going to be okay, that they're not going to fly off and like, you know?
Yeah. Well, actually, because I did two dresses for Maia. We did one first, and then we changed it around a little bit because I wanted to perfect it, you know, in how they felt like it should be and things like that. And actually, as a matter of fact, on the first dress, I had put on some square crystals, and they became an issue as well because how they were holding, he kept cutting himself on his hands. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. So for the next one we stuck to safe shapes, like the round ones, and that's always fine. But yeah, you do have to think about that. Like,
and how heavy do these get with all these beads? Are there like, what kind of beads are we using? Are they heavy, or is it? Yeah.
They definitely can be, and it's definitely something that we have to think about, because it is important that they're not too heavy. So a lot of times it's, you know, it's like tricking the eye. You know, it might look like it has so much on it, but maybe we just chose the exactly right ones to make the most impact, but it's not that many on it.
Do you sew them by hand, one by one? Like, what? How are we attaching these beads? I'm very fascinated by that, because some of these look like they have a lot, you know?
Yeah, some of them do have a lot, but it's also, we play around also with beads, and then you have to pick ones that are light, you know, so that, because crystals are heavy. So if you're using beads, then you should definitely think about so that they're not heavy. And those you have to sew on. So you just have to make sure they're really super secure. So it's very time consuming when you start doing hand sewing. And some of the bigger ones, some of the bigger crystals also needs to be sewn on, you know, for security reasons, so they don't fall off, and otherwise we glue. Yeah.
So how long does it take you to make a costume from start to finish? If you're attaching all of this to it before you FedEx it off or DHL it, what's going to happen? How long does it take you to make Aljona's costume, Aljona and Bruno?
Well, it varies so much, to be honest, and I do a lot of different ones. So like it can be anything between like 20 and 80 hours. Like sometimes it just takes a really long time. And that's working straight through, you know. But then sometimes it's a little faster. So it depends. It really does. But yeah, I'd say between 20 and 80.
Now, do you ever have a downtime during the year? Because obviously everyone's getting dresses for the new season, usually in the fall, but then the younger skaters compete earlier. So do you ever have any time?
No. No, there's no downtime.
Yeah.
But
like when you take vacation, when is that happening?
Yeah, so it didn't happen for a while at all, because it took a little time to build, you know. And when you're doing that, you kind of just have to say yes to everything, don't you? Yeah. So it was completely crazy. I mean, like I worked 16 hours a day every day for like 3 years straight, pretty much. But now I've learned that that doesn't last in the long run. You can't keep doing that. So I have amazing people working with me. And I am going to go soon on vacation to Sweden and also to see my husband, who's in Germany right now with an ice show.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have, so in a way that's my downtime, but I have so many different clients because I have the little ones, you know, that start, they want their new stuff like in the beginning of the year or like March, April, and then the elite, and the elite ones are actually the ones that let me know the latest.
Always. Yeah.
So it's always crazy. And then there's Champs Camp, where sometimes maybe things didn't work out and they have to rethink everything, and they're like, we need something new because we're changing our program. Or they just realize that they want to ask me or whatever. You never know. So that's that whole like summer is the juniors and seniors on the elite levels. And then I have some adult skaters as well, so that's kind of this time of the year, or like late summer, fall, winter. And then we're also doing a few other things now, so that we have in the works. So it's not really
no downtime.
No downtime.
Now I think I read somewhere. Did you do Eun-soo Lim's dresses this year?
Yeah.
Okay, so those have been a real hit. People are really loving her dresses. So tell us about coming up with that, because I think they really I think the short program, and it was just like the way the YouTube light, or however the lighting was on that one camera, it looked like she was skating like in a cloud, and the dress really like enhanced it the first time I saw it, and I was like, wow, that really. Yeah.
Those because Eun-soo came over to LA because she's skating with she's taking so that was probably the reason why they came to me, but we didn't have like a whole lot of time, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to squeeze it in because I was fully booked. But you know, I mean, how can I say no?
So the sleeves are really interesting there. They're so different than at a normal skating dress. So how did you come up with that? Yeah.
So that is, okay, so the guideline that I had from her, how she felt, was that she wanted to sort of feel like an angel in the clouds, you know, sort of thing.
So I'm really getting this. You're successful. Because okay.
It's spot on. Yeah. So, and she wanted it to look very light and in white and blue. So that's what I had. And then the design, this is what I felt, you know, and she loved it right away. And then it was just how to put it together in a short, there was a lot of overtime on that. But yeah, the sleeves, so we dyed the mesh. So it's dyed with, you know, nude to white, and then some nude on the sleeve. It's all in one piece, so it's very tricky. So that's the base. So that's probably why it maybe looks and feels a little bit different. And then
is there blue accents on there, or is there another color, or is it?
There's just blue on the little, you know, tips of the sleeves and on the skirt. Yeah, and the underpants. And the underpants also ombre from white to blue.
So now tell us about the free skate, because Chicago is usually like the glitzy gold. You know, Jenny Kirk had the dress, you know, very iconic to it. So how did you, and Mariah Bell just did Chicago. So how did you come up with a totally different look for?
Well, the color choice was hers. She was maybe thinking it, she definitely didn't want to do silver or gold, because she wanted to have her own spin on it. But it still needed to feel Chicago and look Chicago. But she also, because it's a medley, you know, there's not like she's not a specific character, you know.
Although I think she's like doing more Catherine Zeta-Jones from like the movement to the. She said no though, but I was like,
yeah. I mean, we decided on black, and then it was just about, you know, finding a really good silhouette for her and something that really felt Chicago, and that was also more. She also wanted a little bit more maturity in her presence and look, because it's first senior year. So yeah.
So what is next for you? I mean, how many dresses do you have? How far in advance are people booking you these days?
So right now people are booking me for next year. So but it's a little bit tricky too, because we have a pretty big client list as is. So we're only taking in a few. So that's happening now. And then even my old clients are like, we just want to make sure you got us on your list again next season. So, that's happening now. What was the first thing? I forgot.
So, and like, I also wonder, like, where are you getting calls from? So now that, like, you have Eun-soo, who's Korean, are the Koreans all calling you to try to get dresses? I mean, what is,
I mean, we do get a lot of international calls, for sure. It's harder, and it's also, like, it's harder on everyone to do international. It's very tricky and very risky. It can be very costly for me, and it can be costly for them, because it's still, you know, like, you still have to have a perfect fit, you know, on first go around, and that it's really hard. So I'm being slightly careful with that, you know, because also I don't have a chance to fix things, you know, and I'm definitely a perfectionist, so it really bothers me if the fit is not right, and it, you know, or the look is not right, and it's something I could have changed if they were here in person. Then I could, you know, I would see it on them better, and we could like tweak it before it's finished. But then a lot of times once you've sent it, you know, just because it's hard to send back and forth, you never see them again.
So you're watching the Olympics last year, and you have clients there, but also the ice dance is going on, and there was that Gabriella's dress broke. As a designer, were you having like an anxiety attack? Yes.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, it's just horrible.
I think you forget that could happen, and it wasn't the first time she was wearing it or anything, so that,
you know, so I don't know what happened, so I don't want to like tap into that at all, but I will tell you that we do everything that we can here for that to never happen. You know, it's definitely like hooks and eyes needs to be in place, and it needs to be placed in such a way that even if one comes undone or two comes undone, there's another one holding it, you know. So I don't know, I saw that they were sewing right before they went on the ice, and maybe that broke too. I don't know.
It's like the nightmare. You forget that it could happen. You know, you hear about it like in a show or something, but it was just.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, like, it's better to be safe than sorry. But.
So you mentioned Katarina a bit earlier. Was there a dress that like got you into wanting to make? Was there like what dress did it for you?
Carmen.
You know.
Carmen.
Okay. Yeah. What about it?
The red, the orange.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But it was her. I think more than the dress itself. Oh, because I have other ones actually that I was really inspired by when it comes to their dresses. But with Katarina Witt, it was just her. Everything about her, I just loved, like all of it. And then she did this, her gala program to Michael Jackson, and she wore this like leather jacket full of crystals, and I was like, oh, just first of all, I want to be her in that jacket, and then I was like, I want to make that.
What else did it for you? I want to know. Like, what are your influences? Like, what's going on? Yeah.
Oh, I loved Christy Yamaguchi's costumes. I was so inspired by them, and also Jill Trenery.
So, like Lauren Sheehan, the stuff that she did for her when they were competing, like, okay.
Yeah, with the like little poof shoulders and all the crystals and beading that she had going on, and yeah, I love that style, and okay, that was my favorite. Yeah.
So, are you a glitzy girl? Is that what you're saying? Like,
yeah.
if you were okay.
Yeah, I do appreciate, and I love contemporary, like plain beautiful, and like we always joke because for some reason I love sad colors, and and they always make fun of me for that, because anytime there's something bright, I'm like, oh my god. So I love when something looks worn and tragically, shredded into pieces, and there's drama and tragedy and like all those feelings about that.
So if I wanted to skate to Schindler's List, you could do like ripping. If I want to make my adult comeback, you could do like, okay,
I could do that. Yeah, and I will feel you.
Are you more into gray or black for a Schindler's List? Like, what are you feeling for it? Like this?
Gray.
Gray?
Yeah. Yeah, more gray,
like
but dark.
Dark, like an ombre? Like, is it, are we...
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And it's funny because it's on my list. Yeah, no, I didn't mean that, but like, my list has a Schindler's List costume on it.
How long is your list? Like, what realistically? Yeah.
It's a very good question. I try not to count because I always get really overwhelmed then. So luckily my beautiful people working with me keep track on that.
It's funny because when I make videos, I have like a list, in my head, like, oh, I should do that, and then this is coming up, and then that. I can't think about it too much. You have to think one video at a time because you will, one dress.
That's exactly how I am too. So I always try to focus on the ones that are at the top. And then once that's done, I can move on to the next. And I don't even think about it. Honestly, sometimes people ask me, hey, so what are you thinking for the costume? Any thoughts yet? Because they're checking in, which is totally okay and understandable. But I'm just not there yet. And I actually most of the time don't have any thoughts, like nothing. If I don't start, I haven't thought about it because my head is full of something else. And I don't really think much before I sit down and start sketching. And so it happens when I'm sketching a lot of times. I could have somewhat of a plan, but it's just with the colors. But when I sit down, I have music on and I just have it on repeat. I have the pictures of them on my phone and I sit with my iPad and I just start sketching and I just let it come and it just comes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's when I'm sketching that's when I come up with it.
Do you get nervous before you sketch? Like, do you get stressed about it or do you just let it happen?
The only thing I can stress because I have a lot to do. But once I sit down and sketch, I don't stress because I know it's going to be okay. But I can stress when I have sent something out, or if I feel like it's a client that I know is going to be important to me as well, because maybe they have a lot of exposure. I get stressed about that, before I know that it's going to be good. And before I actually physically see it on TV, I can stress because I never know how I'm going to feel about it, if I'm going to like it. Like, I know it's going to be okay, but I always want to love everything I do. So if I just like it, you know.
So when you watch skating on TV, are you getting inspired by the other dresses, or do you get your inspiration from other things, or where are you drawing it from?
Yeah, I draw it from other things. I draw it from fashion. That's where I come up with like, or like where I see like new things, you know. I follow all the latest trends in evening gowns and things like that.
So who are your designers? Like, who are your designers that you really like?
I really like Balmain and Michael Cinco is, you know, like a dream come true, sort of. Can't get any more grand than that. Yeah. But I like following, like everyone, because there's always a little something, that, you know, can give me an idea, or like, just, yeah, sort of trigger something in me to think in a new direction. Because, you know, I do have, like, you're limited with figure skating costumes because it's a sport and they have to be a certain way, and there's not a lot to work with. They're really small, you know, so there's only so much you can do sometimes. And, you know, colors but for me also, the music is the most important to me. That is really what, like, I go by the feeling of how I feel when I listen to the music. And if it's not clear to me, I ask them how they feel when they're skating. You know, are they sad? Are they happy? Are they this, that, you know? But I always try to enhance the feeling of the music. That's kind of what steers it.
Is there something that you dread? Like when you get the email, you open up what someone's going to skate to. Is like the tango a dread at this point when everyone is skating to the same music? Like what really is...
I mean, I don't want to upset my clients that have tango costumes because it's, you know...
So I'm skating to a tango and I would like to use black and red, obviously. You know, what... Yeah.
And you know, sometimes it's a challenge for me. And I like challenges. I'm not scared of challenges. So, yeah, when I get a chance, I have to say, if they do say they want black and red, I might suggest something different that we could maybe try and see how they feel, you know. But I think also that people are willing to, you know, try. It's okay to try different colors, you know, and do their own spin on a tango. So that makes it still exciting. And, you know, I mean, last year there was a lot of Moulin Rouge going on.
For your clients too, you know. Yeah,
exactly. So it's hard, but, you know, when you have so many of the same musics coming back, but at least it's for different people. So, you know, that's when you really have to tap into what this person would look good in, you know.
So when Ashley went from La La Land to Moulin Rouge to La La Land, did you already have a dress made that she switched back to, or what?
No, the last dress is what we did last.
Okay.
So it was in order with, she got a dress for each, but I think for Moulin Rouge she got a couple because she couldn't quite decide on how she felt about it, you know, like the color and things. And I think maybe it was because she wasn't fully feeling it in general, you know. So we did go through a couple of dresses for the Moulin Rouge, and then she was like, no. But we had never started on a La La Land originally. She had told me about it, but then before we started, she changed to Moulin Rouge. So yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So who is best dressed this season? Like, what skater are you really...
You know, that's a very good question. Let me think.
Is there one from all time that you would look at and just like always wonder what they were going to wear or study?
Well, I have to say too that while I was on tour, I was a little bit in a bubble, a little bit removed from the competition world. because you just end up in your own little ice show family world. You know? So it was, you know, when I started here in LA is when I really needed to do a little research too, like, and realize that, you know, that I needed to start watching and see what's, you know, what are the trends right now? What is everyone doing in the, you know, in the competition world? What are they wearing? What is the deal? And then I just decided that I wanted to do my own deal anyway. But, you know, and now I just love it. I love watching, and we always have it on, you know. But best dressed, I don't know yet. I don't know if I have seen enough to be able to say so. And, you know, to not say my own clients.
Well, your own clients could definitely be on the list. Thank you so much for coming on. This was so interesting.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh, hello.
Hi.
And this is Erin over here.
Hello.
Hi. So who's doing what? Like, how do we break down who is responsible? Is one the bead person? One the...
We all do everything.
We all
do. It depends on, hey, we have a job, we got to get it done. Who's free?
Yeah.
So does four-way stretch come in every color, or how are we all, like, are we dyeing everything?
But we dye a lot and also airbrush a lot. You know, like, it's really cool when you can create your own, like, colors and your own patterns and stuff. But we do have things that we're, you know, specifically good at. Like, I'd say Erin is like the craft expert. Like,
I do a lot of flowers.
And, and Crystalling, she's like a really super fast. And Kayla is really an expert on patterning and everything like that. Dyeing.
So how do you find people that are experts in making figure skating costumes? Like, how do you find these?
Well, they don't exist. Well, they exist in other places maybe. But I was super lucky to find these two when I was hiring. I just put a notice out, you know, and they really wanted to work here. And they had, like, you know, a lot of knowledge and skills already. And then I just had to
what's behind you? You got to show me what's behind you. I'm looking at this. This is there's a flowy skirt. What is this inspiration for? What can you tell us?
So this was actually a regular skating dress first, like a solo skating.
Okay.
But she also does ice dance, so we have worked on it and changed out the skirt. I don't know if you can see it too. So it's very flowy. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And daring, because is that fake flash, like mesh in the? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And who put all those beads? Did you glue those on? Whoa. How does that? How are they glued on? One by one, like with a tool or so? Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We place the glue first, dot by dot, and then you put the crystal on top of the glue one by one.
How many hours is that neck taking to do? Like what?
100.
And then you had a rack. I see in the back. You should have never walked back here. I want to see this.
Welcome to our studio.
Yes. Okay.
This is a rack full of samples of leggings that we have in production right now.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then there are some things here we happen to work on. We're working with the rhythmic gymnastic girl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She's on the elite level, so it's really exciting. That's new, and it's don't tell.
And is that even rhythmic? They have like even more beads, right? Like those costumes are even more over the top, right?
Yeah, and they're not as concerned with the heaviness as skaters are.
They don't weigh much, so it's fine. You know.
Yeah. They do roll around a lot, though. But we can also put beading on like the underpants and stuff, which is really fun.
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So. Yeah. So that's what's in the works. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. This was so interesting. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.